If I asked you if you were in pain, you'd probably be able to tell me pretty quickly whether you were or whether you weren't. Obviously, pain has lots of different levels. We've seen these different charts where it's like a rope and that's really frayed and is quite raw, or is it like electricity? Is it like pins and needles? Is it sharp? Is it dull? Does it ache? Is it deep? Is it on the surface? We have understanding of what pain is in a physical context. And we can usually pinpoint the area that we're in pain from. So, for example, if I was to cut my hand, without looking, I'd probably be able to locate in my brain where that pain is. And I'd probably be able to point to it even with my eyes closed because it probably would be quite a sharp pain. And this is the thing that's really interesting to me. When we talk about pain, we normally only really associate it with that physical sense of knowing ourselves and knowing the piece around that. When we talk about emotional pain, I think we all understand what that is, but we're not quite as in touch what that feels like. So, for example, we might not realize the physical things that we're going through because of an emotional pain. And if I then went a step further and I talked about mental pain, I think that's even more separate in our thoughts and in our ways of identifying, well, what does that actually mean? And how is that a physical thing? So quite often we get knots in our neck, we get pains in our shoulders, we get pains in our stomachs, we might sleep more or less, we might feel more anxious. Lots of ways it shows up physically. And it's one of the things that now more than ever we need to be tapping into. How do I physically feel and what does that mean? And from a point of view of emotional check-in or mental check-in, sometimes the simplest way to access that bit is to say, well, where am I feeling this physically? Or am I not feeling anything physically and maybe I feel totally disconnected at the moment? So sometimes that check-in is so important just to say, well, where am I right now? What am I feeling right now? And what might help me in this moment just to ease the pain that I'm feeling or ease the physicality of the feeling. And sometimes that helps to move the dial and just move it away from the pain a little bit and more towards your control over where you're at in this moment. I'd love to know what you think about checking in and how you notice when pain shows up, whether it's physical, emotional, or mental, and what are some of the tips that you might share with other people on how to manage that.